folks, welcome to a video to introduce you to Submittable. I have been mentioning this a number of times and now I'm finally going to walk you through it. You're actually going to see Submittable one more time when we do a video on what you'll see with Submittable from an editor side. So once you submit something to them, what do editors do with your submission? What does it look like for them? And what are some of the things that they might be looking for when they're making their decisions about your work? But this video is to introduce you to this website as a user, as a submitter. As a submitter, owning a Submittable account is completely 100% free. When you decide to start submitting some work, you may find that you're paying to make those submissions, but otherwise, it's a completely free thing to use. So this is their webpage. It's just submittable.com. And now I'm going to have to just log in. I already have an account, but if you click sign in and you're on this page, you're going to end up on the home page. And my apologies if this takes a little bit. My computer's acting a little weird. It's taking a little bit of time. And you'll get to this page. So you would click on sign up and you would go through the sign up process. Like I said, completely free. They don't spam you with a bunch of stuff, so you don't need to worry about that if you're one of those people who gets concerned about those sorts of things. So I'm going to log into I have actually two Submittable accounts, one for the magazine I run and one for myself as a writer. So I'm going to walk you through the account as a writer and show you all of the nifty stuff that you can do with Submittable. So when you log in, there's really two major features of Submittable that you're going to be using it for. One is to make and track submissions, and the other is sometimes you can use it to find submissions. So this is sort of a newer feature that they have. This is their Discover Opportunities feature. And so this is really neat. So what they've done is any magazine or whoever, a press, whatever it is, that accepts submissions through Submittable, you can find them here. So many of these places have deadlines. And so what this is it's a list of everything that they have with an upcoming deadline. So I'm making this video from the past on July 11th. And so this is a list of all the magazines that have stuff that's due, that's got a deadline on July 11th. And then there's Friday, July 12th, and this goes on and on and on. If you scroll all the way down, you can go all the way to, let's see how far this goes ahead. This goes all the way into next year. So about a year from now, even a little bit further than that. Wow. So that's a pretty long time away. So you can see that. They also have, there's a lot of places that don't have deadlines, and so they also have no deadline ones, and you can sort of endlessly keep adding more, and these kind of come up randomly. I don't know what their algorithm is for whether something shows up here. But the nice thing you can do is you can use some different filters. So if you want to only see things that don't have a fee, you can click that filter, and only things that are completely free to submit to will show up. And so what you can do is, let's just find one. Oh, okay. A fiction for special futures edition, non-subscribers to something called Overly. You can click on it, and you'll end up here with whatever information the magazine has provided. And you can scroll through and read, and you can even save things so that you can go back and submit to them later, or you can click to submit, and it will take you directly to the page. I'll show you that in a little bit. One thing I always like to tell people is that you need to make sure that you do read all of this information that a magazine has. Go to their actual guidelines page. Don't just use what you find here, because sometimes magazines don't put everything onto this page. So it's always a good idea to check. So that's one thing you can use for. And you can use these different search filters. You can search for, since I'm a fiction writer, I might click this fiction one, and I'll only get calls for things that are actual fiction. And it'll even let you know if you've submitted to somewhere. So that's pretty neat. So you can see if you've historically submitted to something so that you don't not resubmit or you do resubmit. So that's one of the features of Submittable. The other good feature is that this is a place where you will submit, and it's a place that will kind of track your submissions for you. Now the downside is only going to track submissions that you've made through Submittable. So there's no way if like you sent in an email submission somewhere that you could add that submission on here. All it does is does submissions that come through Submittable. So there's a number of ways you can sort. So these are all of my current submissions, and you can see there's a lot of them. I submit all the time. You can also have all of your submissions in one big list, but this is a list of ones that are currently active that are being considered. Then you can also look at your list of accepted submissions. So when you have materials accepted by magazines, those stories and poems and whatever will be listed here. You can see the work you've had declined from magazines, and let me tell you, mine is a very lengthy stack. 920. I've gotten, probably have gotten 1,000 rejection letters in my life, because I've gotten plenty that do not come from Submittable. and then anything that you may have withdrawn. I have students sometimes ask me, what's up with withdrawn materials? Well, typically, as a general rule, when you get something accepted by a magazine, you then have to withdraw it from being considered by any other magazine that you sent it to. And so this is so Submittable will track for you where you've withdrawn things. So I've made 221 withdrawals. Right. That doesn't mean that 221 separate pieces of writing have gotten accepted. It just means that, like you can see here, I had a story Speakers that got accepted somewhere, so I had to withdraw it from multiple places. So, but usually I have mine set on my active list, so I've got my list of material, and they're organized here by date. You can organize them in all sorts of ways, but I do date in terms of most recent magazine here. Now you might notice over here that there's this received versus in progress. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. That usually just means that someone at the organization, so someone at Barrel House, has either clicked on my story or assigned it to a reader or something. That doesn't necessarily, I kind of ignore that because that doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of, oh, it's in progress, so that means I should be getting a response any day now. Not necessarily. Okay, so, and that's how you can track what's going on here. Now, maybe you want to know, what's it going to look like when I go use this to submit? So I'm going to come back here to this Discover just because I'm gonna walk you through what a submission would look like. I'm not actually going to make a submission. But okay, I'm going to click on the Bangalore Review here. And if I click on Submit, I'm going to get taken to this magazine's Submittable page. So every magazine that uses Submittable is going to have this page. And so they'll give you all their details. So you want to sort of read very carefully what it is that a magazine wants. And then you would insert your story's title. You would then include your cover letter here. So you just copy and paste your cover letter in here. And then usually you're going to be asked to choose a file to upload. And so you just want to make track of what it is. Keep track of what kind of file they'll take. If they have a particular way they want you to title your files, again, in those things that are in those submission fees, or in those submission guidelines. And then if you are going to pay a fee, this is where you would do it. And then you just click Submit. And your submission will go through. If anything's wrong, it will tell you that there's something wrong. So one thing that you want to know is every now and then people ask me, well, if I have to submit something blindly, how will they know it was by me? Well, when you submit, the head editor of magazine on their side, we'll see this when we get to the other side of Submittable a little bit later in the class, is they'll have that information with your item, but readers won't get that. If it's blind submitted, the only thing they'll get forwarded to the readers is your work's name and the file. So it'll always be connected to you, so you don't need to worry about that. So that's the very basics of Submittable. It's a great resource. Again, doesn't cost you anything to simply have an account. One other thing I will mention really quickly is if you go into settings, if you set up an account, you go into your settings, Submittable has a weekly roundup is what they call it, and it's basically a kind of a call for submissions feature. So if you click on notifications, I don't actually get notifications. I don't receive preferences. Where did this go? Maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Here we go. Is you can receive email notifications. So if you can accept notifications to make sure that you get notifications from magazines, and then you want to access Discover. And if you have this notifications thing, you'll get their weekly feature. And so that's a way to get that information. It's really useful. I found some really interesting opportunities there. And that's a basic tour of Submittable. So like I said, once you start submitting, you will almost inevitably need to use this. And so hopefully this will feel like something that's of very good use to you. So get out there and get to submitting.